Hey guys, how's it going? My name is Heather and today I am doing my massively huge September and October book haul. So I'm actually sick right now, which is why I'm sitting down today because normally I'd be standing. But I hope you guys can forgive me. So this book haul is going to be about 60 to 70 books. So it's big. It's big. I bought a lot of books in September and then I didn't do a haul, and then I bought a bunch of books in October, and I'm kind of filming this a bit late. We are at like November, what is it? It's like the 13th. So I'm pretty late getting this filmed, and sick or not, like it needs to get done. So I'm doing it. For November, I have already bought some books this month in November. Like I said, it's like the 13th of November right now, and I've already bought at least like 4 books. Shoot me a comment, let me know, you guys, how do you want me to do the November book haul? Do you want me to wait till the end of the month, or do you want me to go ahead and just do a little mini book haul in like next week when I'm no longer sick? If you follow me on Instagram, you might have seen I bought a whole ton of Harry Potter pops, because for some reason I really didn't have hardly any Harry Potter pops, so I went a little pop crazy. I bought a whole ton of them, but I can include those in the November haul if you guys want me to. If you would rather that I just leave the pops out and do strictly books, again, shoot me a comment, let me know what you guys would like to see. But please forgive me if I cough or anything like that. I did take some cough meds, so hopefully I don't. But yeah, so anyway, let's get on to the books, because there's a lot of them. So a lot of the books that I'm going to be showing you guys are some that you may have seen in my previous wrap-ups, or even in my November TBR. There was a few that I'll be showing you here today as well, but I just wanted to include them in this anyway, because that way I'm not confused later on. What did I show you? What didn't I show you? What did I buy when? So yeah, I hope that's not too confusing for you guys, but this is just everything that I bought in September and October. So the first ones, I'm actually going to go ahead and get the ones that I've probably shown you guys before out of the way. So the first books that I'm going to go over are actually the Raven Cycle series by Maggie Steve Otter. I've had the first book for quite some time. I've never read it. In August, September, October, everybody was doing like fall reads, spooky reads, stuff like that. And the number one thing that I saw recommended was the Raven Cycle series. So I figured that I would go ahead and pick up the last 3 books and read them, because there's a lot of hype. There's a lot of hype around this series, especially this time of year. So I kind of wanted to figure out what it was all about. So the next little stack of books that I have here are ones that I've probably already shown you, which means I've probably already given you a summary on them. So I'm really not going to go into them too much. I'm just going to kind of show you guys what they are. So I have Hunting Prince Dracula by Carrie Maniscalco. I think I'm saying that one right. We have Down Among the Sticks and Bones by Sean McGuire. This one I did get to in October, and I really enjoyed it. So the next one I have is the Graveyard Book by Neil Gaiman. I don't know which one's right. This is actually the graphic novel version. This is the bind-up of volume 1 and 2. I read this in October. The Graveyard Book by Neil Gaiman at a Value Village. So I got this for like $1 or $2, which was really great because this one costs a ridiculous amount if you buy it brand new. I had seen this one on the book outlet, but unfortunately I was not quick enough and I did not get it on there. One of the books that I had gotten way back in September was Tower of Dawn by Sarah J. Maas. I read this one in September. I also have Daughter of the Burning City by Amanda Foody. This one sounds really cool. This is on my November TBR. I have not read this one yet. It's about a girl who can create illusions, and they're so lifelike that you can't tell that they're an illusion. But unfortunately, she does work in a circus, and her illusions start getting murdered, which sounds super cool. Like, how does that happen? They're illusions, so they're not real, but they're being murdered. Like, it's a really cool sounding book, and I love its purple cover. If you can't tell, I do love the color purple. So another one of my November TBR reads is Wicked Like a Wildfire by Lana Popovic. Been a little bit since this one came out, but I am really excited to get to this one. It sounds super cool. But the next few books, what 100% remember when I bought them. I think I got them in September, but I'm not totally sure. So anyway, so I have Burning Glass by Catherine Purdy and Crystal Blade, also by Catherine Purdy. This one I think I got from Book Outlet, but this one I picked up at Barnes & Noble because I was like, ooh, that's the sequel to that one. That looks super neat. So I'm gonna get it. So yeah, not a whole lot of reasons behind why I buy books, other than, hey, it's the next one in the series of that one that I have. I know I bought at least one of these in September because it came out in September. That is A Shadow Bright and Burning and A Poison Dark and Drowning by Jessica Clues. There's been some hype around them that, you know, they're pretty good so far, so I haven't heard anything bad about them, so I went ahead and got them. The next one is The Last Magician by Lisa Maxwell. This is kind of set in, I believe, a modern day New York where a barrier has been set up to keep magical people who go through the barrier, they are trapped inside it then. But the thief that we follow, she is able to go back in time. And so she is off to steal a book about the Order, which are the people who set up this barrier, the Brink. They call it the Brink, I believe. And so to try and kind of, I think, take it down. This is a bit of a thicker book, but it is on my November TBR. I'm not sure if I'm going to get to it, but I really hope that I do. So the next book that I have is also on my November TBR because my November TBR is somewhat overly ambitious. But I have The Enchantment of Ravens by Margaret Rogerson. This one, the main girl is a painter. She ends up getting taken to the Fae realm, and anything to do with the Fae and stuff like that I always find really interesting. Have you seen this cover? Oh, it is so cool. It is so cool, you guys. I love this cover. Last book that I have for you guys that is on my, at least I think it's the last book that I have for you guys that is on my November TBR is The Princess Bride. This is not the one that I showed you guys in my November TBR. This is the 30th anniversary edition. That's super cool. It's got this super cool colorful map in the front. It's so pretty. This is S. Morgenstern's classic tale of true love and high adventure by William Goldman. I'm super excited to have this. It's really pretty. It's got these really cool pictures throughout it. The other book has pictures too. These ones are on slightly different pages and they're slightly different drawings. So, but it's all really cool, and I love just the way that they did this one. It's so pretty, and I just couldn't help myself. I had to get this one, of course. So a while back, me and my friend had gone to see The Dark Tower while it was still in theaters. And while we watched it, we thought, gosh, this seems like it jumps a lot. Like, it's one of those movies where you watch and you think, the book definitely has to be better, because this seems like it's missing a whole lot of stuff. When I went to Tidal Wave, a local used bookstore, I found Stephen King's The Gunslinger, which is the first book in the Dark Tower series. There's like eight books in this series. It is a huge series. But I am excited to read this because after watching the movie, yeah, I felt like there was a lot missing. The next book that I had picked up that I thought I would read back in October but didn't get to was The Dreadful Tale of Prosper Redding by Alexandra Bracken. But I don't know too much about it. This is a middle grade book, so I don't read a lot of middle grade, but I figured I'd read this one and then maybe my son would want to read it. So we shall see. I picked up The Last Namsara by Kristen Cicerelli. I think I'm saying those words right. The Last Namsara. I know I'm not saying that right. By Kristen Cicerelli. So this one sounds really interesting. It has to do with this girl who's heard all these fables and stories growing up, and as she's older, she has become this amazing dragon slayer, and she, I guess, tells, from what I understand, she tells the dragons these stories and it lures them out, and then she kills them. I am excited to see what this book is all about, and it has this really cool cover. I love shiny covers. Some of the other books that I picked up while I was at Tidal Wave, a local discount used bookstore, was Hollow City and Library of Souls, both by Ransom Riggs. I have the first book. I bought the first book after the movie came out. My daughter absolutely loves the Miss Peregrine's Home for Peculiar Kids movie. She's 4. She's a little weird, but she absolutely loves that movie. And so I picked up the book thinking, oh, well, you know, the movie's not bad, so I'd love to see what the book is about. And I actually haven't gotten around to reading it yet. I also have the graphic novel version of the book, but after having read the Graveyard book, I'm probably going to read this set first. I've heard these are really, really good, and so I figured I would go ahead and pick them up, because why not? I was also able to find Hush Hush by Becca Fitzpatrick. A friend of mine has read this series a long time ago, back when it first came out, and so she recommended, she was there with me at the bookstore, and she recommended that I get it. She said it's a really interesting series. I honestly don't know much, if anything, about this. I also picked up Fallen by Lauren Kate on my friend's recommendation. This is another one that she had read back in the day, and she said was really interesting. I believe this one does have to do, like that one, with like fallen angels and stuff like that. Assassin's Heart by Sarah Ahirs? I know nothing about this one. Straight up, I know nothing about this. So I keep seeing it on Book Outlet, and the cover keeps like taunting me. So one day when I needed to meet the $35 minimum purchase for free shipping on Book Outlet, I put this one in my cart because it was like $4 and it put me right at that $35 free shipping mark. So one series that seems to be really popular is Snow Like Ashes by Sarah Rosh. I don't think I'm saying that right. I actually had the second and third book in this series, but I didn't have this one because I wasn't finding it in hardback anywhere. I had found the other two on like Book Outlet, but Book Outlet never had this one in stock. They never had it in hardback. It was always in paperback until the other day. They had it in hardback, and I got super, super lucky, and I snagged it. I don't really know anything about this series. It just seems super, super popular, and so I figured it'd be something interesting to read and try out. So I was looking around on Book Outlet, like I tend to do, and I came across Frostfire by Amanda Hocking. I honestly don't know too much about this one. The author also wrote another series that a friend of mine had recommended to me, but I haven't been able to find that series yet. So I figured I'd buy this and kind of get a feel for the author and their writing style. So I saw this one at Value Village. This is Everland by Wendy Spinel? Spinal? I'm not good at this. But it's got this really neat cover on it. It looks really cool. The second book to this, I believe, came out recently. It's based in London, where a bunch of bombs and stuff have been dropped. There's a virus, and so only kids are left. It follows a main girl and her siblings as they scavenge and avoid a German army. It sounds really kind of neat, so I am excited to read this one. And if I like it, I might pick up the next one. Okay, this next book is one that I've heard a lot of hype about, especially recently because the second book in the series came out. I've heard, again, nothing but really good things about this, and that is Nevernight by Jay Kristoff. This is the UK edition. I don't necessarily like the look of the US editions. I like the cover of this one more. Book Outlet has the US edition pretty regularly, I believe, but I just wasn't a big fan of it, so I hunted this one down on Amazon and bought it off there. A lot of the ones that I found, people were wanting like $40, $50 for, and Book Depository never had this in stock. So I finally ended up finding one that said it was in good condition. Actually, this is in very good condition, and I only had to pay, I don't know, close to cover price. Like, I didn't have to overpay much for this at all, and this is really, really cool. I really love this edition. It's so pretty. I like it so much more than the US one. I'm really happy that I held out and waited and found a copy of this. The next book is also one where I had to hunt down the UK cover, and that was Dreams of Gods and Monsters by Laini Taylor. There's actually several covers for this one. There's one set where there's like a lion's head door knocker, there's a keyhole, and I want to say the other book's like A Doorway. So there's that set of covers, and then there's also this set of covers. This is probably my favorite set of covers. They are so, so beautiful. This is the first book, Daughter of Smoke and Bone. The second one, Days of Blood and Starlight. And now I finally have this one. This one was really, really hard for me to find. It was harder for me to find than the Nevernight book was. It took me 6 months before I finally found a decently priced copy that said it was in very good condition, and honestly I'd say this is more good condition than anything else. Again, Book Depository never had this one in stock. I have no idea why, and everybody who had a decent copy wanted like $100 for it, which I don't understand. Like, don't they still print these? Aren't these still being made? Like, why? Why so much? I looked on Abe Books, and I looked on the Amazon Marketplace as well as the Barnes & Noble Marketplace, which of course was useless, but the Amazon Marketplace and Abe Marketplace all wanted ridiculous prices. I finally found this one. I did overpay a little bit for it, which I'm kind of unhappy for, especially with the condition that it turned up in. But I am finally happy to have it and complete my set. So, yeah. Because they're so pretty. They're so, so pretty. I love them so much more than the US covers. This is kind of what the US cover ones look like, by the way. I found this one at a Goodwill, and it was 50 cents. To celebrate having found my UK edition of Dreams of Gods and Monsters, I went ahead and picked up Night of Cake and Puppets. It's really cool. When you take the dust jacket off, front and back, and the inside boards are all decorated too. It's really neat. So the next two I'm going to go over are the ones that we received in the September and October Owl Crates. In September we received Before She Ignites by Jody Meadows. For October's Owl Crate we received Wild Beauty by Anna Marie Miclemore. This one sounds really interesting as well. There's a family and they tend a huge, huge garden, but one day a boy shows up in the middle of the garden and he has no idea who he is, where he came from. So all the members of the family have different opinions on him and why he's there, and our main girl is kind of drawn towards him and helps him figure out why he's there and where he came from. One of the books that I was able to find on Book Outlet that I was kind of surprised and happy about was the Shadowhunters Codex by Cassandra Clare and Joshua Lewis. So this is one that I didn't already have. It's got this really cool front pages here and underneath the dust jacket. This is basically just, you know, a bunch of info on the Shadowhunters and stuff. It's part of the series. It's a Shadowhunters book that I didn't have yet, so I was happy to find it on Book Outlet for a lower price than normal. There is absolutely nothing wrong with this one, so I'm really happy about that. It didn't come scratched or damaged or anything, so yeah. I also found Partials by Dan Wells. This one's very kind of dystopian, and I haven't read many dystopians for a while, so I figured I would go ahead and pick this one up. The human race is all but extinct after a war with partials. Engineered organic beings identical to humans has decimated the population, reduced to only tens of thousands. So it sounds kind of interesting. This one says, "This is our last copy and does not meet our quality standards. If you're not happy with it, please contact us." I am happy with this one. There's not a whole lot about it that's really that damaged. The front cover right here is really creased on the boards, but other than that, there's really nothing wrong with it. So I felt no reason to send it back to Book Outlet. Another one that I picked up because I'd never seen it on Book Outlet before was Long May She Reign. Again, this is one I don't really know too much about. It was the only one on Book Outlet, and I had never seen it on there before, so I figured I'd go ahead and pick it up. The cover looked interesting, which I have a problem with. I need to stop doing this. But it says, 23rd in line to the throne, she never dreamed of a life in the palace and would much rather research in her laboratory than participate in the intrigues of the court. However, when an extravagant banquet turns deadly, the king and those closest to him are poisoned. So the main girl ends up finding herself on the throne, which she never expected. So it sounds kind of fun and a little different. I haven't read one like this recently. Most of the books that I read, they're fighting for the throne and they want to be there. So she's not too keen on it, and that sounds interesting to me. One of my favorite shows is Outlander, and I had actually never read the series before having watched the show. So after having watched the first season, I was like, oh my gosh, I have to read these books. They're a little hard to get into. They're very thick. They are not a young adult series. They are regular fiction books. A lot of romance in them. So if you're not too keen on reading that kind of stuff, maybe don't pick them up. But when I was at Tidal Wave, I found 7 Stones to Stand or Fall by Diana Gabaldon. This is a collection of her short stories and novellas. I have the first, 3, 4, 5? I have the first few books in this series, and I figured, well, I like to read these short stories kind of in between the books, you know, like as they came out. Because, I don't know, I find that interesting. That's how I like to do them. That's how I read the Lunar Chronicles and the Selection series as well, was I read the novellas in between the books. So I am excited to do that with this one as well. When I was out on my anniversary, I came across Name of the Wind by Patrick Rothfuss? This was displayed right up front. It's the 20th anniversary edition, so it looks really cool. I am a sucker for sprayed edges. The only real summary that it gives you in the front here is experience a tale unequaled in fantasy literature. The story of a hero told in his own voice. It is a tale of sorrow, a tale of survival, a tale of one man's search for meaning in his universe, and how that search and the indomitable will that drove it gave birth to a legend. So it sounds interesting. Apparently it's a super popular high fantasy book, and I figured why not pick it up? It's the 20th anniversary edition, so sure, it's huge. It's huge. You could use this to like club somebody over the head and knock them out. It is huge, and it is heavy. So one of the new release books that I was able to pick up was The Language of Thorns by Leigh Bardugo. I actually pre-ordered this one, which was why I received an enamel pin for it as well, which I believe I showed you guys in my October wrap-up. So one of the really awesome things about this book is that throughout the story, as you read, the drawings on the side get bigger and bigger until eventually you have like the full picture. So it's really, really cool. This is based in the same kind of world that the other ones, that her other books are, but these are like fables and fairy tales and stuff like that. So it's really, really neat, and I cannot wait to get to this. So I did not pre-order this next one, and I was really glad that I hadn't, because I found out that the UK edition was way cooler than the US edition. So I ordered Warcross by Marie Lu off of the Book Depository, except I accidentally ordered the US edition apparently, not the UK edition. So then I had to order the UK edition. So now I have 2 copies of this, which is kind of interesting because you get to see the difference between the US and UK editions. The UK one is bigger, just slightly, but it's bigger. And I actually think that the UK one is more colorful. Like, I think the colors pop and stand out a lot more. Like, they're more highly saturated on the UK one than the US one. So the US cover is just this solid blue. But the really cool thing about the UK one is that it's shiny, and it's like a color wheel. Like it's got all the colors. This is about a girl who's kind of like an internet bounty hunter. So there's a game called Warcross, and she accidentally glitches herself into it. And this is a problem. So the maker of the game brings her to their headquarters or whatever, and says, hey, I need you to figure out why this is happening, and I need you to stop it. So it seems really, really interesting, and it has to do with gaming, which I thought was really neat. So I'm really excited to read this one, and it's so super colorful. Like, I think I might do my hair rainbow next time just because of this. So yeah, I can't wait to read this one. It just sounds really cool. Sorry, you guys. I had to go get a cough drop. My throat's really bothering me. So I do have that right now. I hope you don't mind. I do apologize, but really I needed something for my throat. The next few books that I'm going to be going over are books that I picked up because they are the second book in a series, and I already own the first book, even though I may or may not have read them. But I saw the second books available. They were for decently cheap, so I got them. First one I actually bought brand new, and that's Fireblood by Ellie Blake. I bought the first one in this series back when it originally came out, when I was getting back into reading YA fantasy books and such. And I actually haven't gotten around to reading the first one yet. The first one is Frostblood. But so this is about a girl who has fire blood. It's, I guess, magical ability, and she's been hiding the fact that she has this ability until her mother ends up being murdered in order to protect her. So after her mother is murdered, she goes and joins a group of rebels to fight against their oppressors. So it definitely sounds like an interesting series, and it's one that I've been wanting to read. So I went ahead and grabbed the second book because I'm just anticipating that I'll like it. On Book Outlet, I saw Blood of Wonderland by Colleen Oakes. The third book in this series actually came out recently. I saw it at Barnes & Noble the other day. While I was there buying some books, I did not pick it up because I haven't read the first one or the second one yet. These books are really cool. I love their covers. They have these really neat kind of playing card look on the back of them that have a bunch of little things incorporated into it that's just really, really cool. It's one series that I've been wanting to get into. I've heard really good things about it. The third book just came out, so I'd like to read the first and the second one soon. Also from Book Outlet, I picked up Wind Witch by Susan Dennard. My mom read the first one in this series, and she wasn't too overly impressed with it. I went ahead and picked up this one. Even though I haven't read the first one yet, these have been out for quite some time. I have heard both good and bad things on this series, so I want to read them so I can get my own opinion on it. I got The Ship Beyond Time by Heidi Hellig. This again is the second book, like I mentioned. The first one is The Girl from Everywhere. So this is about a girl who has spent her entire life on her father's ship, and so long as he has a map for it, he can go there, which means he can even travel through time. And one map that he is specifically looking for is a map to a time in which her mother still is alive. So it seems really interesting. Time travel. I don't read a lot of time travel books, and so that was why I had originally picked this one up. Since then I have picked up a couple other time travel books, but I'm still really excited to read this. This one seems really cool. In my last book haul, I believe I had shown you guys Rebel Belle, and I hadn't planned on getting the other two books, but I saw this one at a Value Village, and I could not pass it up for the price. I have not gotten around to reading Rebel Belle yet, but this series does sound really interesting, and for the price I just couldn't pass up getting the second book. I got Airy by Maria Devana Headley. I'm not sure I'm saying her middle name correctly, but this one was really neat. The first book in the series is Magonia. So this series follows a main girl who has a lung disease in our world, and she ends up passing into this world in which she no longer has a disease, and in fact she is rather powerful, and it's her adventure in life, I believe. After that, I found The Wish Granter by C.J. Redwine on Book Outlet. I had picked up the first book, The Shadow Queen, when I was down in the lower 48 a while back. I was looking for something to read while I was down there, and I picked that one up, and I actually never got around to reading it because I had also picked up several of the Throne of Glass series books, and so I read those instead. So in the series, it's kind of a Snow White retelling, if you can't tell from the cover here. So the main girl flees, of course, classic Snow White, and the queen has probably killed her dad and has taken over, and there's a boy from a neighboring country who is kind of in need of help, and so he makes a deal with the queen and promises to be her huntsman and go hunt down the princess. And so I love retellings, and I thought this was going to be a really neat one to pick up. So the second one has come out, and I think actually the third one is going to be coming out soon as well. So hopefully I'll get to read these before that happens. I got The Crown of Wishes by Roshani Chosky. The first book in this series was The Star-Touched Queen, and I love the covers on these. They look really intense, and and it's about a girl whose chart has predicted that her marriage and stuff is doomed. So her father ends up marrying her off for political reasons, and the marriage is not what she expected. She actually really likes her husband, I believe, and she enjoys the fact that it's somewhat liberating being there in his kingdom rather than in her kingdom, but there's some suspicious stuff going on. I think I'm actually going to go on a book buying ban after November, because I've already bought some books this month, but and I'll try and get some of the books that I haven't read yet read. So these next ones that I picked up, I kind of picked up just for the fun of it. I saw them at the used bookstore and I thought, hey, I don't have those, so why not? And that's The Short Second Life of Bree Tanner and the Illustrated Guide to Twilight. Twilight is a series that came out when I was in high school, and it was really big, and then I didn't get into the series until after high school, until all 4 of the books were out and Stephanie Meyer had published The Host, and like the movie for that was coming out. It was quite a ways after the hype had died down. When I saw these, I thought, oh, you know, that'd be nice to kind of round out my Twilight collection, and they were pretty cheap because they were at the used bookstore, so why not? So when I was at the used bookstore, I came across Dorothy Must Die by Danielle Page. I've never read a Wizard of Oz kind of like retelling. This was one that I was like, oh, it's different. It's different. It's a lot different than the usual retellings that I read. So I'll go ahead and grab it. And then when I was looking around on Book Outlet, I saw that they actually had the rest of the series. So they have Yellow Brick War, The Wicked Will Rise, and The End of Oz. I really like the spines, and I think it'd be a really cool series, so it's definitely one that I want to read, so I went ahead and I just bought them all. Because I am a weak person, and I like to buy all the books. The Book Outlet had The Darkest Minds. They also had In the Afterlight and Through the Dark. Yes, I am missing one. I know it. I know I am. But I couldn't pass up getting these. This is a series that I've been wanting to read for quite a while. I know they're doing either a movie or a TV show for this series, and so it's one that I'm really wanting to read before that comes out. So the series follows the main girl, Ruby, and she wakes up on her 10th birthday with these strange powers, and her parents send her off to a rehabilitation camp, and it turns out that her abilities are too dangerous. So she escapes the camp and goes off with a few people from some other similar camps to find what is basically like a resistance, but not everything is as it seems. It's definitely one that I want to read soon. Daughter of the Pirate King by Trisha Levenseller. I think I'm pronouncing that one correct. I'm probably not. This one's really interesting. It's again another one of those books that I hadn't really read anything similar to this, so I think that it'll be a fun read. The main girl in this is daughter of the Pirate King. So she ends up going off on this mission and she gets captured on purpose so that she can search these other pirates' ship. Unfortunately, as she goes to steal what she is there for, the first mate tends to get in her way. So definitely a bit of a love interest going on, and it just seems really fun. Not a whole lot of pirate books that I've read, so I'm excited to read this. So the next few books that I have are series that I bought more than one book of. Like the Dorothy Must Die and the Darkest Mind series, I got several books in these ones simply because they were there and because I could. From Book Outlet, I got Starfall and Starflight by Marissa Landers. Solara Brooks needs a fresh start someplace where nobody cares about the engine grease beneath her fingernails or the felony tattoos across her knuckles. The outer realm may be lawless, but it's not like the law has ever been on her side. Still, off-world travel doesn't come cheap. Solara is left with no choice but to indenture herself in exchange for passage to the outer realm. She just wishes it could have been to anyone besides Dorian Spaulding, the rich pretty boy quarterback who made her life miserable in school. The tables suddenly turn when Dorian is framed for conspiracy on Earth, and Solara cons him into playing the role of her servant on board the Banshee, a ship manned by an eccentric crew with their own secrets. Given the price on both Dorian and Solara's heads, it may just be the safest place in the universe. I'm a big fan of shows like Serenity and stuff like that, so definitely a series that I think I could get into. The next two that I have is The Invasion of the Tierling and The Fate of the Tierling by Erica Johansson. I found both of these on Book Outlet. So I am missing the first book in this series, which is The Queen of the Tierling. This is another one that seems to have a lot of hype around it. I've heard nothing but good things. This one's interesting because I often see it at used bookstores in the young adult section, but then I also see it in the regular fantasy, like, adult section. So I'm not entirely sure which one this qualifies as. I'm gonna say this is more of an adult fantasy, just to, like, be on the safe side. Other than that, I don't really know a whole lot about this one. I really need to get the first book. The next two, I often see a lot of these books all over the place, and that's I'm Number 4 and The Fall of Five by Pittacus Lore. Most of the time, the ones that I see are like 6, 7, and 8. I believe there's like a 10th one that came out more recently. There's another book by this author that also came out recently, I want to say. But I see this series, bits and pieces of this series, all over the place all the time, which I don't necessarily know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. But they did do a movie for I Am Number 4. So I've seen the movie and I'm really interested to know what the series is about. I saw the first and second one, so I figured I'll go ahead and pick them up. I am not buying any other books in this series until I have read these, because I want to be sure I'm actually going to enjoy them. There's a lot of books in this series. These next ones, again, I picked up from Book Outlet because I do indeed love Book Outlet, and I love the fact that they have free shipping on orders over $35. Even though they're not always in the best condition, usually the ones that I order are pretty dang near perfect. So I got Reign of Shadows and Rise of Fire. I remember a while back there was something on my Facebook timeline to where they were creating the front cover for this book for the photo, and it was really neat to watch. And then when I saw this on Book Outlet, I was like, hey, that's that cover that I watched them create that little video that one time way back when. Yeah, so I was like, oh, I'm gonna pick these up. It was some marketing done pretty good, apparently, so I'm a sucker. 17 years ago, an eclipse cloaked the kingdom of Relhook in perpetual darkness, and in the chaos, the evil chancellor murdered the king and queen and seized their throne. Luna, the kingdom's lost princess, has been locked away in a tower in the cursed Blackwoods ever since. Luna's survival depends entirely on the world believing that she is dead. But that doesn't stop Luna from longing for a life beyond the stifling tower walls when she meets Flower, a mysterious archer who has braved the Blackwoods in search of land where the sun still shines. Luna is drawn to him despite the risk. So it is somewhat sounding like a Rapunzel retelling, which again is really interesting because not a whole lot of those. The only other Rapunzel retelling that I've really read is from the Lunar Chronicles, and that's done with a very sci-fi theme, whereas this is more along the lines of like Rapunzel's actual world. They're not very thick books, like they're pretty thin, so I think I could probably bust them out at some point here soon. The one thing about the book outlet books that I do find somewhat irritating sometimes is that they will usually have a marker streak on either the top or bottom of the book. This one's on the top, this one's on the bottom. I'm pretty happy with all the books I've gotten, and I've gotten a lot of books from them. Since Marie Lu had the new book Warcross coming out, and I hadn't read any of her other books prior, I picked up this box set when I was at Tidal Wave because they had it, and I haven't read any of her books. I actually also have her Young Elites series as well, and I haven't read that, so I think maybe one of these months I'm just gonna have to do like a Marie Lu marathon. I'll probably start with Warcross though because I'm most excited to read that. So the last few books that I have here are middle grade, which I don't buy all too often, so I ended up picking up Seraphina and the Black Cloak and Seraphina and the Twisted Staff. There is a third book that just recently came out, so there was a lot of hype around these because of that third book, and I saw them at the used bookstore and figured I'd go ahead and pick them up. If I don't like them, they are middle grade, so my oldest kid might like them instead. The last stack of books that I have here is a rather large stack, but it is the last one for this video by a very popular author, and that is Rick Riordan. So my son was reading Percy Jackson and the Olympians, The Lightning Thief, and he had seen this, Camp Half-Blood, at a Target, but it was kind of spendy at Target, and so I told him that I could order it offline and get it cheaper and that I would get it for him. So I went ahead and picked up all these other little companion books to go with the Rick Riordan series. So I found these three actually at my local bookstore, Tidal Wave, and they were cheaper than what I normally find them for online. Even at Book Outlet, they were cheaper at the Tidal Wave store. So I went ahead and grabbed them because I don't have them. I do have the Percy Jackson series and the Heroes of Olympus. I have the first three. Yeah, I have the first three of that. On Book Outlet, when I ordered all the little companion books, I also ordered Magnus Chase and the Gods of Asgard and the Trials of Apollo. This is the Sword of Summer, and this is the Hidden Oracle. So these are the first books in Rick Riordan's newest series. I believe the third book for this one is already out. That is The Ship of the Dead. And the third book for this one is coming out, I believe, in 2018. I don't think it's going to be out before the end of the year. I'm pretty sure it comes out next year. That was it. That was all of them. That was all the books. All the books. That was a lot of books. It was a lot of books. If you guys have read any of these books, shoot me a comment, let me know. I'd love to hear what you guys thought of them, if any of them were as good as I'm hoping that they will be, or if they disappointed you and I should maybe, like, not be as excited as I am to read them. I'm sorry, I'm sick right now. Hopefully for the next video I film, I won't be sick anymore. I do apologize. Thank you guys so much for putting up with my sickness. If you enjoyed this video, and you would like to see more videos with me and my books, please be sure to click the like and the subscribe that are down below. You can also click the little bell icon so that you can be notified as to when I post new videos. You can also follow me on Twitter and Instagram. Normally, if I'm not posting a video, I'm posting something on one of those two platforms. Thank you guys so much for watching. I really appreciate it. And I hope that you tune in next time. Bye!